Hey guys, Angus here. Got another Airsoft gun review for you guys today. Today's review is going to be of a gun that I saw in some videos a few weeks back. Thought it looked pretty cool, so I went ahead and asked my sponsor Airsoft Station to send me this thing out. This is the Tactical Force TF11 CO2 blowback airsoft submachine gun. What it is basically a CO2 blowback Mach 11. Now this is a pretty cool gun if you're interested in purchasing it after you watch this review. There will be a link down below in the description to airsoftstation.com where you can buy this gun for about $80. For the price you pay, it's actually a solid little gun, so let's go ahead and get into the review. Let's start off the review by going over the gun's packaging. Now, this gun does not come in a standard cardboard or styrofoam box. Instead, it comes in one of those plastic kind of casings that hang on the walls at Walmart, Bass Pro Shops, wherever you shop for your normal airsoft guns. But don't be deterred and think this gun is cheap, because it certainly isn't. Packaging's fairly flashy, and as usual with all these types of casings, very hard to get open. When you do finally cut it open and pull everything out, inside this box you'll have 3 pieces of paper that consist of the largest, your Tactical Force TF11 owner's manual. I'm basically going to cover everything in the manual in the review, but I would still recommend you take a look at it, being that it does tell you how to insert your CO2. The bright yellow paper is your Umarex warranty sheet. Tells you don't return the product to the store, return it to Umarex, as this gun is covered by Umarex's warranty. And the white piece of paper covers your airsoft gun registration if you wanted to register this gun with Umarex. Then you'll have an old-fashioned style speed loader, your 50-round TF11 magazine, and of course your Tactical Force TF11 CO2 blowback airsoft SMG itself. Now, out of the box, if you're me, I loved this gun. I thought it was pretty darn cool. I've always had a thing for Mach 11s. They're awesome. They're compact little submachine guns, and as you'll hear later, they have a great cycle rate on them. This gun is no exception to that. Now, out of the box, this thing feels extremely lightweight, and the reason for that is because it's primarily composed of plastic, which, come on, $80, you're kind of expecting that. The plastic it's composed of, though, isn't anything cheap. It's a higher quality ABS plastic, and it feels rather nice in your hands. As I mentioned, makes the gun very lightweight. This thing probably weighs in at 2 or 3 pounds max with the magazine in, so this thing's very easy to one-hand, which is an awesome option for a Mach 11. There are a few metal pieces, those metal pieces being your bolt, of course, your front iron sight, that front sling swivel, which we'll talk about a little bit later, your semi to full auto selector switch, your safety, your trigger, and a portion of your magazine. Also, the internal components of the gun itself, as well as the internal components of the magazine, are metal as well, being that they do come into contact with the CO2, therefore they have to be metal. So overall, you get a pretty solid external construction. Internally, again, the pieces are metal in there, and I believe this gun is compatible with KWA Mach 11 NS1 parts, so there are fixable and replacement parts out there for this gun. Alright, now guys, the first thing I want to discuss with you is, of course, something you're going to need to know if you want to operate this gun, and that's how to put the CO2 into your TF11's magazine. This is covered in the manual, but in case you guys just want to see someone do it on screen, here I am. Now, naturally, the CO2 is going to be stored in the bottom of your magazine, and you access that compartment by simply unscrewing this portion here. You want to turn it counterclockwise, and it'll come unscrewed rather simply. I actually like how you can just do this with your hand as opposed to having an Allen key with some of the other CO2-powered guns out there. Now, once you have this metal containment area out of the magazine, you can go ahead and take your 12-gram CO2 cartridge, which is what this gun runs off of. If you don't know where you can purchase these, you can buy them on airsoftstation.com, as well as really Walmart, Cabela's, anywhere. And just take it, place the nozzle end facing towards the sky, and drop it in like so. Once the CO2 is in, make sure you have a filled CO2 cartridge. You would place it back into the mag like so, and this time turn clockwise to tighten this metal cylinder back into the bottom of the magazine. When you tighten it all the way, you should hear a hiss letting you know the CO2 is released in there, and tighten until you can't really tighten anymore. If you tighten loosely, CO2 will leak out the bottom of your magazine. Now, while we're going on and discussing about the magazine, I might as well go ahead and talk about how to load the BBs into it. This is a pretty simplistic process. It works like any other pistol mag if you ever loaded those. You have to pull the spring downward in order to be able to fill BBs up top. There is nothing to latch the spring down below, so you do have to hold it, otherwise it will just release back to the top. Now, when you want to fill BBs in, you want to take that old-fashioned style speed loader that was included with the gun and place it over the top of the magazine like so. At that point, you'd fill this straw with about, I think it can hold 25 or 30 BBs, and then take the jamming rod and push it downward like so in order to insert BBs into the magazine. Probably have to do this once or twice in order to fill up the magazine completely, but when it is completely filled, the magazine does hold about 48 to 50 rounds, which can go real fast if you shoot this gun on full auto. One thing I do want to point out about the magazine, this seems to be a problem with all Mac 11 magazines, is you need to make sure the follower spring is actually pushing straight upward, because what I've noticed occasionally is it tends to bend towards the side and get stuck on the side. Therefore, you only feed 5 BBs into your gun as opposed to all of them. So take a little extra seconds and make sure the follower spring is facing straight upward instead of curved off to the side when you release it. Another thing I would highly recommend, guys, when you go to put your magazine in after you've filled it up with CO2 and BBs, would be to cock the bolt back. I'm not sure if it's required for this model, but on every previous Mac 11 that I've owned, you do need to cock the bolt back before you put the mag in, or you will risk damaging your internals. But once you cock that bolt back, go ahead, slide your mag in, and you're ready to go. Alright, now I know some of you guys have been sitting there just saying, come on, shoot it, that's what I want to see. So that's exactly what we're going to go ahead and do now. We have a fresh CO2 cartridge and some .25 gram BBs. Let's go ahead, check out the blowback action on the Tactical Force TF11. Full auto. Pretty cool. Well, with the magazine done, there's only a few more features we really have to talk about on the Mac 11. Those features consisting of your fire selector switch, which is located on the left side of the gun. This is your standard sort of dial and flips between two settings, which are engraved into the side of the gun. When the dial is facing forward, you're on semi-automatic. When you flip it backward, like so, the gun is on full auto. This is more so a gun most people are going to be shooting on full auto. However, the semi-automatic is rather nice. Instead of blowing away your mag in a quick burst, you do get the option of firing semi-automatic in order to shoot individual shots. Another key feature of the TF11 would be its functional safety, which is located on the right side of the gun, just next to the trigger guard. As you can see, the words safe and fire are also engraved into the side of the weapon. When the safety is pushed onto the fire setting, naturally you're going to be able to fire the gun. Also on this setting, that bright red dot will be exposed. When you push the safety backward onto the safe setting, naturally you cannot pull the trigger and the gun will not fire. Remember to keep this thing on safety when you're not in a game. The TF11 does feature your standard Mac 11 iron sights. The rear sight is simply a small hole that lines up through the grooved bolt with the front sight post. The iron sights are there, but really, who's actually going to use these iron sights? Most people just kind of charge with the Mac 11 as opposed to aiming, such as in this case.
Surrender! Surrender right now! Surrender! All of you surrender! Let's try that. Holy shit! Surrender! Not fire!
To answer that question that's been bugging a lot of you for quite some time now. What in the world is this front sling swivel for? Well, it's actually got a pretty cool purpose. What you can actually do is mount a cloth foregrip to your gun by running it through the sling swivel and then around the front of your trigger guard. It allows you to hold the TF11 like this, gives you a little bit more stability. I did try it once before without much success, but I've never seen anyone really use them too much. I imagine it'll look pretty cool on your gun though. That's the mystery of what the sling swivel is for. One thing I also did forget to mention earlier was this gun does have the standard Mac 11 threading, so if you can find a Mac 11 suppressor, you can go ahead and put it on the TF11. Alright, so the Mac 11 is a pretty simple gun. We covered its features, its externals, its internals, shot it a little bit, and I also showed you guys a pretty cool clip of me surrendering a couple players with this gun. So let's get into the final conclusion. Bottom line, would I recommend the Tactical Force TF11? Frankly, I'd have to say yes, because frankly, 80 bucks, it's a pretty good gun you get for the price. Externals wise, yes, it is composed primarily of plastic, but not exactly a bad thing, meaning it does still make the gun lightweight, and it's also fairly durable. Also, the compatibility with KWA M11A1 NS1 parts is actually pretty nice. You can repair this thing if it does break if you really wanted to. One thing I love more than anything about this gun, besides its rather nice rate of fire, is the fact that it's extremely easy to change the CO2 in the field. I don't have to worry about carrying an Allen key or a screwdriver with me, let alone fiddling with it in the field when I'm under fire to get it out and change my CO2. I can simply unscrew this with my hand, drop in a new cartridge, screw it back up, and I'm ready to go. That's a huge advantage to me. Otherwise, the gun's pretty darn cool. It does have the option on there to put that cloth foregrip. If you do it, I'd like to see it. And you have those threads if you wanted to be able to find a Mac 11 suppressor. Cons of the gun, well, face it, it's an $80 gun. The thing's not going to last forever. Probably eventually it'll crap out on you. And also, another con, it is CO2. This is going to happen with all your CO2 guns. It's not exactly going to work in the colder temperatures. Even today, it is maybe 40 degrees. That's why it wasn't shooting as fast as it would in warmer weather with the CO2 blowback action. But overall, it's a pretty solid gun. If you're looking for SMG or a sidearm, the Tactical Force TF11 is a lightweight one that, frankly, it can fit in an M9 holster with a little modification. So if you're looking for a nice little gun, this gun might be for you. $80 on AirsoftStation.com. You can take $5 off with coupon code DEATHCORE. Thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe.